In all honesty, you cannot tell me that there was a more epic arc and a more impactful arc in all of Fairy Tail than this one, regardless of the bumps we've had. And, I've expressed my concerns regarding these bumps we've had. Ultimately, yet again, this chapter, it was like, wow, like humongous progression and revelations to some of the biggest things in all of Fairy Tail regarding the dragons. And just like that, all of it has been showcased, and just, I don't care. Like, Tartarus arc is definitely, in my book, the best arc in all of Fairy Tail. It is. It honestly is. It just has so much to it, and it just brings everything to the forefront. So we start off with Makara basically saying he didn't have the courage to use Lumen Histore. Now, that gotta make you wonder, the courage, what does that mean? Like, does it possibly mean that upon using Lumen Histore, you can do great things, but maybe at the cost of your own life? Or because why else would you say the courage? Or is it because, like, upon releasing Lumen Histore, some major thing is going to happen and you're going to have to be able to put it at bay as well? I'm thinking it's something that it was a risk to Makarov, and Makarov was just like, damn, man, I'm not ready for this, or, to die, or whatever the case may be. Although, to be fair, he was willing to risk his life in the fight against Acnologia, so it's not, you can't completely say, oh, Makarov was a pussy, he was scared to die. So it got to make you wonder, what did he mean by that, to use, the courage to use it? Is that the first master will completely disappear, things will change? Like, why? And then Mavis saying it's probably not the right time, or it's not time yet. Ultimately, that's probably saying that the time to use Lumen Histore will probably be the final fight with Zeref and possibly END. That's probably going to be the time to use Lumen Histore, because that's going to be the, the big of all bigs. And I mean, we still have Acnologia in the wings, which, by the way, the only thing about this chapter that I was a little bit, like, puzzled is we never got a clear shot of Acnologia leaving. We had him blast the living shit out of Igneel, which... that was crazy. We had, that happened at the end of the last chapter, and then this chapter we just see the dragons talking, oh yeah, Acnologia left, and I was like, why didn't we just see, like, him departing or whatever with, like, one arm or something, like, flying away? I think we deserved a demonstration of it at the very least, because I thought in this chapter, Natsu was going to go apeshit and turn into a dragon and start fighting him right there. So the fact that he left, I would have liked to see him actually leave. Then we get the emotional moments with all the dragon slayers being reunited with their dragons, and it's crazy. It's like, from the beginning, when we met all these people, God, Jill, Wendy, and finding out that they're dragon slayers and whatnot, and their connections to these dragons, it's been so long, and finally seeing them being together, it was crazy. And you definitely see the development with a lot of these people, like God, Jill, for example. While his dragon is making fun of him, you still got that look on your face or whatever. Ultimately, even he's crying. Wendy is there, and I think Wendy, the old Wendy, would have been sobbing way more than what she ultimately did. I think maybe she could have just not had any waterworks or anything like that, but I think it kind of showcased a little bit that she did grow up a bit. She's not completely just, oh, Brandini, please. Like, she's actually keeping a decent composure for a little kid. And then good old Sting and Rogue. They thought they knew it, but they didn't, because apparently the dragons could have altered memories around, and while Igneel was against it, so we can safely assume that he never did that to Natsu. He never changed anything about Natsu's memories. Ultimately, Sting and Rogue's dragons did, and that's why they thought that they killed him. So I'm glad that that was cleared up, because it was kind of like, thought you motherfuckers, well, anyway, we already know it's Sting and Rogue and whatnot. But even with them, I felt to a certain degree, it was a little bit emotional. I mean, at the end of the day, they have been around for a bit, and them being reunited with these dragons that they thought they killed, I was like, it was just really, like, one of those sad times. And the most devastating thing of it all, which kind of even plays into the whole Igneel thing in a way, is that the moment they showed up, they were dead men walking, or, dead dragons walking, so to speak, because the second that they showed up, they basically gave away their last little bit of attempt at staying alive, and that was another reason, I guess a third unexplained reason until now, why they were inside the bodies of the humans and whatnot, so that they can prolong their lives to the day they can finally see Acnologia and, try and take him out, because if they would have just been soaring the skies or whatever, they would have never got to him. They would have eventually died, quickly, because Acnologia was beyond the beast, even back in the day when he was using Dragon Slayer magic. And that kind of makes me wonder, he extracted their souls? Was that a metaphor for that he half killed them? Like, with his magic, how fucking strong was he? That kind of makes me wonder, if Acnologia is this strong as a dragon, who knows? Maybe he only did that because you need, like this incredible power to fight a dragon, but maybe as a human, the Acnologia possibly would be even stronger because he had these incredible powers. And I would love to see at some given point Acnologia return to some sort of humanoid state at the very least, and see him actually use this magic that he was able to use to fucking, extract souls from dragons. But to be honest with you, out of everything that happened in this chapter, and these past few chapters for that matter, the most impactful thing for me personally is, I think you've seen in my reviews, I'm not a Natsu fan. I just not. I'm not. But the impact of what happened, and what happened with Igneel wasn't necessarily like, oh my god, poor Igneel, he was my favorite character, because we just met him realistically. But it's the impact and what actually the aftermath that happens to Natsu that was actually impactful, because you see him there crying, and honestly, it gave me a little bit of those feels of back when he couldn't beat Guild Arts, and he was just there on like, fucking hell, I just got owned. I felt like that happened right now again, except this was just on a whole different level, because again, he hasn't seen his father since he was little. He's been looking for him this entire time. The entirety of Fairy Tail, his main objective in his head was, I need to find my father. And while arguably, you know, a lot of times it hasn't been shown, and, you know, Hero put that in the back burner, we don't really hear about it, you know, often, whatnot. Ultimately, that was his goal. And to see him for a few minutes and then ultimately have to bury his father, so to speak, that's terrible. And honestly, I really hope some great character development comes for Natsu after this. I mean, please, we can definitely use some great character development for Natsu. I'm not saying completely do an overhaul of his personality, because that's not character development, that's a character rewrite. Ultimately, I think he should be a little bit more precautious, and I think we should see a little more of the after effects of that. Maybe he's overprotective of his Nakama at this particular point, where it's like, no, nobody get near them or something like that. I think we should definitely see some repercussions from this, because he just lost his father in minutes of seeing him. So this should definitely have, hopefully, if Hiro does it right, some weight carried over into the future arcs. And I ain't gonna lie, I did get a little bit excited when Natsu said, I'm gonna fucking grind Acnologia into dragon dust when I get my hands on him, which, as of right now, bro, Acnologia would rip you. Even with one fucking arm, Acnologia would do you super dirty. So Natsu needs a legitimate way to power up, and hopefully, again, what I was talking about in my last review, maybe there's a way that he can access a dragon form, so to speak, but ultimately can still retain his human form if he wants to go back to it, and that's what the antibodies can help him to do. And next chapter is the final chapter of the Tartarus arc, which it's been a hell of a ride, honestly. And this chapter was a great chapter yet again, and giving it a 9 out of 10. I really would have liked to see Acnologia lead, because I was a little bit confused in this chapter, thinking Natsu was about to go crazy and we're about to see some shit go down with him and Acnologia, but we didn't get that. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed as far as Acnologia not being shown that he left. But other than that, just an emotional chapter yet again, and hopefully this has some great weight for Natsu. Fingers crossed that this does some great character development for not only him as well, but for the people that got to finally see their dragons and what their future holds for them now. But let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. How did you feel? Did you feel bad for Natsu? Do you think that this could potentially be some great character development for him? And ultimately, what did you think about what happened to Igneel and everything with the dragons? And regarding that whole thing with Makarov not having the courage to do it, is Lumen Histore a sacrifice, or is it too strong to contain? What's up with that? Just your overall thoughts, man. This has just been a crazy fucking ride with Tartarus. The ups, the downs, or whatever, but I would definitely say this has the best highs of anything in Fairy Tail. The highs have just been, I mean, come on. I don't need to go the countdown from Lucy, the Celestial Spirit King, the dragons returning, what just happened with Igneel, like, yeah. That's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. On ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.